And this is the sort of basic work the media did for Trump, but they won't do for Biden. Isn't that interesting? So one of the projects that we've had over the years that began during the Obama administration is trying to figure out how much it costs to provide, to move the president around, both in terms of costs of Air Force One and Secret Service costs. Now, I know the president, quote, has to use a military plane to get around. He obviously needs Secret Service protection. But I think it's important that there be accountability for how much the presidency costs. And that if a president's traveling around for, vacation all the time and unnecessary travel, that we figure out what the costs are. So again, accountability. They work for us, and we have a right to know how much we're spending on their security, more or less. And Judicial Watch, I first took note of this because I remember reading, I think it was in the New York Post, that Barack Obama, when he was first elected, took Michelle Obama up to New York for a date night because he had promised her a date night. And I thought, well, isn't that nice? So how much did that cost? You could have had a date night in D.C. But no, he flew up to New York. He flew up on a little jet, it turned out. Cost $29,000. We figured that out. And so what we did was we tried to ascertain Obama's unnecessary travel. So, I mean, if he was going on obviously government trip, we didn't ask for the numbers. But if he was going back and forth to Hawaii or on vacation and things like that, or political travel, we'd ask for the numbers. So we were diligent in tracking those numbers. And of course, under the Trump administration, we were diligent in tracking the Trump administration's numbers, or President Trump's numbers. Now, Trump, to his credit, when he was always going down to Florida, but at least it struck me that he was a madman in terms of working wherever he was. So he really didn't take vacations in the traditional sense that people like Obama did. And I'm not to say the presidents can't take vacations, but we have a right to know how much it's costing and whether we need to be spending all that money. Can we, is Air Force One, is it too expensive to ferry the president around? Is there a cheaper way to do it? I don't know. It seems to me if you're traveling close by, you don't need a big plane. You can use a smaller plane like Obama did. But those are the sorts of things, and you can debate it back and forth. But at least you have the numbers. And what was interesting is when we were doing the Obama numbers, there was zero interest in our numbers. But when we did the Trump numbers, I was on every major network talking about it. Shows you the dishonesty of the big media, doesn't it? So we didn't stop when Biden came in. We've been tracking the numbers. And of course, I say we're doing the numbers. It involved pulling teeth from the bureaucracy. There are two agencies that we had to sue oftentimes: the Department of Homeland Security, which runs the Secret Service. The Secret Service is a sub-agency, and then the Air Force. And they used to give us some of the numbers pretty easily without too much of a hassle. But then they evidently didn't like the fact that we were publicizing them, so they stopped giving us the numbers. I mean, and it was like they would ignore dozens of requests. So we had significant litigation during the Trump administration and tried to get those numbers. So we never stopped. Now, the Biden administration, the Air Force is stonewalling us, so we may sue over that. We have gotten certain Secret Service costs, and the latest numbers show that there was $2.2 million in Secret Service travel costs for President Biden. And it was only for, it looks like, a few trips. A trip to Wilmington, Delaware in August for a weekend, $175,000 in hotels, $18,000 in car rentals, $25,000 in air and rail travel. So that was $219,000, and that's just Secret Service costs. Another trip cost $110,000, so that was a little cheaper. Biden took a trip to Wilmington in July, $125,000. So it looks like the range is between $100,000 and $200,000. So et cetera. So these are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trips. And there are a bunch of other trips that we've been asking for. The Secret Service has yet to provide records. And our guess is it would probably be about $3 million total in terms of Secret Service support for the president's unnecessary travel to Delaware. The Air Force, as I said, just refuses to give us the numbers. And this is not rocket science for the Air Force to give us the numbers, because what they do is every year or so, they assign a cost to the operations of Air Force One. And so every hour costs something, right? And like last year, it could cost 110. This year, it could cost $150,000 an hour. And next year, it could cost $75,000 an hour. So the numbers can vary a bit wildly. But anyway, the numbers are easy to come by because we're not asking for anything too complicated here. And they don't want to give us too much information about, like, say, who's on Air Force One. They used to do that. Now they won't do that at all. So those are the numbers for the cost of presidential travel. And again, this is the sort of basic work the media did for Trump, but they won't do for Biden. Isn't that interesting? And the New York Post gave it big coverage, but I don't think it appeared anywhere else. The cost of presidential travel is of obvious public interest. And as I said, it is frustrating that even after years of litigation through 2 administrations, it's now going to be a 3rd administration, the Secret Service and Air Force are still stonewalling this basic information about the costs of moving the president around. So again, Judicial Watch just does it all. And this is what, again, I hate to say this is what I love about Judicial Watch. We're in there trying to defend elections. We are out there trying to expose the worst foreign policy disaster in American history and exposing the dirty little secrets, covering up the dirty little secrets in Afghanistan. And then we've got this sort of basic nose to the grindstone work of just tracking travel costs associated with the presidency. Our Judicial Watch is great.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.